And what firm are you with?
Allen Law, located in the Halifax area in Dartmouth and Greenside Park.
Explain what happened today in court.
Well, this was the end of a kind of a long journey for Ms. Clare. Ms. Clare had been subjected and facing 6 charges involving 2 incidents alleged to have occurred in September 2013 and October 2013 as part of the shale gas protests in Rexton. She's a resident of Elsipogtog, and this was the end of it. We felt the charges were ones that should not have been laid, and she maintained her not guilty plea throughout this, and we were prepared for trial. This week we had 4 days booked for trial. Just very recently, in consultation with the prosecutor, they agreed to leave no evidence to these charges. We agreed on a resolution which would basically free up court time but end this matter for Annie.
Remind us what the charges were.
There are allegations of obstruction of justice, allegations of resisting arrest, allegations of assaulting a peace officer, all those, and some of them were multiple counts, hence a total of 6 charges. And we had felt, number one, the allegations were at the low end of things, and there was an immense amount of resources put into pursuing these, and I believe all the shale gas protesters, her involvement, the allegations against her were at the low end of the scale we're dealing with. And so this is a good resolution for Ms. Clare, of course, and it also frees up valuable resources. I mean, 4 days of court time is a long time to put dealing with what we think were fairly minor charges, but not minor in the instance. It's very important for Ms. Clare because having the state come at you and having a risk of a criminal record is certainly something that can be quite onerous and affect one in the future. So we were glad to have avoided all that and have this matter finally conclude to her benefit.
And how... when you were in discussions with the prosecutor, was this several days ago, or was this just resolved this morning?
Well, it resolved just the other day, basically over the weekend, I would say, as we were getting ready. I've had ongoing discussions with the prosecutor about this matter. There was a lot of video evidence. There was a number of witnesses. We were going to have expert evidence in from a Mi'kmaq elder about the significance of a tobacco ceremony the night before the raid by the RCMP that led to a number of the charges. A Mi'kmaq RCMP officer, we are told, gave tobacco to a number of the Mi'kmaq who were present. And our understanding is, from talking to an elder, that this was almost like making a peace treaty of sorts. Everything would be okay. And so everybody felt it was going to be okay. And lo and behold, early the next morning, a daybreak raid, it was anything but. It was just the opposite. So we think that would have been relevant to her defense and to her understanding of what was going on and whether or not the police were acting with authority, or she would have known they were police acting with authority, which goes to the basis of some of the charges, such as resisting and obstruction.
And these charges only have to do with the events on October 17th, 2014?
No, there was another information as well, and we brought them all together to deal with. There were allegations as well of mischief. It's alleged that she and a number of others blocked a truck from being towed away from some grounds as part of the overarching shale gas protest, and that was a mischief charge as well, and that was dealt with as well in this fashion.
That's one of the 6 charges?
Yes, it is one of the 6. That's correct. Yeah, and these sorts of matters. I mean, years ago, if it was 50 years ago, you have people being arrested in civil rights movements for things, dealing with segregation, dealing with the rights of people to have equal opportunities in society. And people then often were subject to arrest, and many ended up with criminal records. And today we look at, in retrospect, at these people as heroes, or people who are raising awareness of something we now think, well, obviously that's the way it should have been. And unfortunately, that's often how things are brought forth in society. I think in 2015, the environment is a very real issue. And environmental protesters and people raising awareness that are at the forefront of this. And people like Ms. Clare, putting herself at some risk to do so, I think is laudable, because it did raise a lot of awareness of this issue, and in particular in New Brunswick, because to some extent I understand it became an election issue, and of course Premier Brian Gallant and his government had a different view of shale gas development and fracking than the previous government. And to a large measure, I think that's because of the awareness brought to this issue by people like Annie, members of Elsipogtog, and there's many people. It was an inclusive, I keep calling it protest, or whether you call it protest or raising awareness movement or whatnot, but there were people from all walks of life involved. But the Mi'kmaq and Elsipogtog certainly played a key and predominant in the leadership role.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so over. Tell me, what do you think about what happened today?
I'm really happy that it's all done and that I don't have any charges, and that just shows that I did the right thing, and that I hope that they realize that this is really important, that they don't do this to any other people anymore, and that it stops.
And by they, you mean, who do you mean?
The companies, the industries, and the government, and the people that are being voted in. So that's all I need to say. And thank you.
Can I just ask, what do you think about, having had these charges basically for 2 years, pretty much just on hold? What was that like for you?
It was stressful, and it was really hard for me. I was thinking about it, and knowing that I'm a grandmother and a mom, and that how it's going to affect my children as well if I ended up getting these charges, because I didn't do anything wrong. I was only trying to protect the water, not only from my people, but everybody.
Is there anything else you want to add?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I understand that because the 4-day trial has turned back into simply a 1 or 2 hour matter, that there will be a sizable return of legal funds, and that a donation will be made to a particular cause. Is this the case?
Yes, I got a check for $1,000 and it's a check for $1,016.50. The money that's going to go to the community in I can't remember what's the name.
British Columbia.
Yeah, it's going to go to the community in British Columbia.
Unistoten?
Yes, that's where the money I get is going to be going to support them.
So, sorry, explain again. So this money came from who?
Well, Annie raised money to help defer legal fees. I agreed to do some of the work on a partial. I admire Annie's steadfastness in sticking to her principles, so we agreed to do what we could at a slightly favorable rate, and she raised money through members of the community to offset legal costs as well. And this is an amount that is going back to Annie, and she's generously donating it to a community in British Columbia.
So this community is dealing with shale gas development right now. Describe why this community.
It's going through pipelines up there too as well. I don't know much about it, but I know that they're going through a struggle as well. So I've decided to give them the money that I've received from my lawyer.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I just want to write down the